This week, I competed in the SkillsUSA Louisiana State Electrical Competition. In this video, I'm going to walk through how the week went, what the competition was like, and what I learned from it. We arrived on Tuesday to get settled in before the competition. I made sure everything was in place ahead of time going into the next day. That night, I focused on preparing everything, clothes, tools, and making sure I had what I needed. Preparation plays a big role whenever you're working under time constraints. The competition started early Wednesday morning. Each competitor had their own setup. Before that, we got together and we assembled the competition stations. Once each competitor was assigned a station, we were given a printout of the project layout, along with a list of materials. We then had 30 minutes to gather all the material that we needed before we were able to start installing. It consisted of practical electrical work, layout, conduit, and wiring under time constraints. Once time was up, the judges went through each station one by one to score the work. After that, we were responsible for taking everything back apart and cleaning our area. One thing that stood out is how important organization is. If you lose time looking for tools or figuring things out, it adds up quickly. Planning before you start becomes just as important as the work itself. Another thing is you never know who you're up against. You could have someone who is newer to it, but you could also have someone competing who's very skilled. So you have to bring your A game the whole time. Later that night was the opening ceremony where all of the competitors came together. Thursday, I attended the Google Credential Earn-a-thon while other competitions were still going on. It was an opportunity to work toward an industry-recognized credential and continue building skills while I was still there. It added value to the experience outside of just competing. Friday morning was the closing ceremony, which wrapped up the week. That is when everything came together and you were able to see the results of the competition. I ended up placing, so that was a solid way to close out the experience. One thing I learned is that at the end of the day, it's a competition. There were moments where other competitors were asking questions, and I found myself helping. It can be hard to know how much to help. There's some questions that are quick and simple, and there's others that require time, explanation, and focus. That's when it can start to affect your work. So I adjusted. I began to redirect those questions to judges or instructors, and I focused on my work. Another thing I learned is that you have to use your time wisely. It's okay to take your time to think as long as you're intentional about it. I tend to think first and gather information before I move. But in a setting like that, you have to be able to adjust and move faster when needed. But if you spend that time doing things that are not moving you forward, like getting caught up in conversation, it can put you behind later. Even during breaks, I took that time to reset and think through what I needed to do next. I wasn't just switching off, I was making sure I stayed focused going into the next part. We had 30 minutes to gather material before we could start installation. So if you know what you need, go and get it and get started. But don't sacrifice correctness to move faster.